Hi, welcome guys. Thank you so much for actually joining us today. My name is Jonah. I'd like to welcome you guys to our series of interviews where we actually seek to inspire seasoned entrepreneurs to build generation wealth for themselves through education and also risk management. So on this show, right, we'll be actually speaking to casually with the country's leading developers, wealth managers, real estate developers, educators about their failure, successes, motivations, and the lessons that they actually learn. So in today's session, right, we have Aaron Xiao, who's a
Hi,
group
hi.
VP of IQI Global and IQI Elite. He's also a founder of IQI Elite. Aaron has actually won a lot of awards. Some of them are like the Most Influential Young Entrepreneurs 2017, Outstanding Leadership Award 2018, Leadership Excellence Award 2019, and the list goes on, right? So his mission is to bring and change and influence the real estate through educating and empowering people. So when you actually think of Aaron, right? Think of someone who really wants you to win. So without further ado, Aaron, thank you so much for actually joining us today. And
Yep,
do
thank
let us
you.
know a bit about yourself and how did you get into property?
Okay, I actually graduated in like 2008. So 2008 is not a it's not right timing for me to look for a job. So that time, of course, I try lah. So try, and eventually, I don't think I get the job that I will. I foreseen myself will be go all out for it. So that time, I really love everything about sales. I kind of like I wanted to be a salesman, but it's very hard for probably parents or whoever just to accept it that hey, salesman, and you are like just graduate from university. Why not you just try to do something? So I think, why not I get myself to learn everything about real estate, and that's how I came into real estate because of timing is bad because I love sales, and I think real estate will be a good kind of like startup for me. So once I go in, right, it's very hard for me to come out really. And for the first 3 years, I mean, like in sub sale, and after that, I get to know a little bit about project sales. And after I taste project sales, I think that's how in 2014 I start to grow my project sales, grow my team, and up to today lah. So I think I got about 5 to 6,000 members across Malaysia, and so that's pretty much my career back then in 2010. I started off until today. So
Wow, Aaron, do let us know how did you actually grow your team so fast, right? A lot of people they even struggle to manage 2 to 3 people, and you manage around 5 to 6,000 people under you, and those are actually real agents full time, some of them
yeah.
part time, right? And how let us know like how did you actually grow from someone from the bottom? I believe it will be 5 years ago you started from the
Yeah.
very bottom doing sub sale. And then now it's like you're doing project sales and you're managing so many people. Tell us more.
Okay, you see, like when I first started to decided to grow a team, it's actually in year 2014. So I have a few years of experience, and I actually kind of look back, like, hey, how come I don't properly having someone to actually guide me through, or a place, for me as a real estate agent to actually learn something that real estate agent need to learn. All right, so that time I actually struggled in this during my first phase in this career. So me and someone partner, we just like, hey, sit down and say, why not like that lah? We do a quote unquote university kind of thing, or a platform kind of thing, just to let agent to learn what they need to learn in order to be a good agents. So with this idea itself, we were like, like kickstart everything. And no joking, like first year we almost give up. And first year, even we are trying very hard to break through the first 10 people. So like what you say is like pretty much very common, like, like when we manage 2 to 3 people. And in that same time, I need to manage my personal sales. Of course, I will put a lot more focus in my personal sales. And people have thought that like, hey, my leaders are like so busy on their own thing and have no time for me. And these are all the complaints. So that's where I think that, a system need to set up. When I'm busy on my thing, you also need to learn something that you need to learn, and you have a place to go to learn all these things. So I think once I decided to have that platform, and that pretty much, I think that's a beginning of Elite, IQ Elite. And fast forward today, I think inside there we have more than like 100 to 200 hours of trainings and things like the agent need to learn. So basically, if you ask me, I would say the system really works.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just before we go into the main topic for today, right, I'm
sure.
really interested to actually know about how you actually manage your success. Who was inspirational to you? Who was the key to your success when you first started, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you first start, there is maybe very little knowledge out there. maybe you want to share who is your mentor, how did he mentor you, and where do you actually learn your skills from?
Okay, you see, I'm born in 1985. We are coming in a very awkward year, like technology somehow close to us, but somehow we also very close to those offline things. So people before, like when I came to this industry, all my senior they are using pretty much offline. Like you hear something like newspaper, you hear something like SMS, you hear something like flyers, and after that I actually came in and Facebook marketing is being introduced, and that time I saw AirAsia putting up a lot of advertisement in Facebook. And after AirAsia, I think I think I remember I see something like DHL and all this, like none other company doing that, only a few big company. So I just try to Google how to do Facebook ads and what is the cost. So I pay almost 1,000 to close to 1,000 every month just for advertisement in newspaper. And I say, why not I try 500 in Facebook? So that's the time that I actually uses Facebook to kickstart everything. So after that, right, then I have a mentor, which is currently is my boss. He said, hey, you need to grow your team, because like since you have to decide that either you want to go personal sales or out, or you have to grow your team. If you grow your team, you can't be either here or not there, right? So you need to really go for numbers. So all right, so I hear it, I know it, but I need to take care of my personal sales, because that is where my bread and butter are. So right after all this struggling, my mentor keep on telling me that you can't look at 10 people, you need to go 50, you need to go hundreds. And after I get 100, I thought I would be very happy. I told them, you see, I recruited my first 100 member. He said, you think 100 is enough? 100, if you look at 80-20 rules, right, you have only 20 agents working, right? So 80 agent is actually sleeping. So that's where he keep on giving me the numbers that me myself can't even believe in it. So like from 10 to 100, you need to do something different in order to have that 100 number. But when 100 to 500, you need to do something even more different. So that's time we introduce trainings, we introduce recruitment plan, we introduce every single thing just to make sure we reach the goal. So after 500s, then there's a sweet spot happening. When 500 go to 1,000, it's not that hard anymore. But yes, all this system already in place. So when 500 grow to 1,000, just imagine each of them just bring in one friends. Yeah, easily 1,000 already. Yeah, so I think my boss really influenced me a lot. Like giving me the goal that I really can't imagine it. Like that time, if you lead 50 people, you are like almost a champion. You walk with win with you, right? But he tell me 500, 1,000. I say, well, that's a figure that I never imagined. Yeah.
Interesting. So thanks
When,
for sharing that story, man.
yeah.
And if you guys if you audience here, if you guys have a question for Aaron here, do type it in the comments below. We will try our very best to answer it within the hour or so. So if you guys have any questions, type it in the comments below right now. Right. And also if you want to get a free gift from Aaron is actually giving out a free ebook. And the topic is on sales, how to actually get sales. So do stay till the very end. That's where we'll actually be giving out the ebook as well, right? So I'd like to say hi to a few of our audience here. We have Priscilla, we have Kate, Wallace, we have Jasmine, Giovanni, Vivian, Amira, and Darren, Dr. Nurul. Thank you so much for actually joining us, Chin, and also of not forgetting Adrian, right? Thank you so much for actually joining us. Today's session is the year is 2021, the year of property investing. Is it the right year to do so? Maybe Aaron, you might want to share with us your thoughts on this.
I think like since last year pandemic, I've been getting these questions, and like personally, I think right now today, people around me who are actually like hardcore investor, right? I can tell you one thing. One of my very close investor friends, just by June lockdown until today, which is just like 4 month time, can you imagine he invested almost 6 million worth of ringgit property, and it's actually like 4 units of it. So actually just now I just have a call with him. I say, hey, like what make you make these decisions? He just say like, the deal is presented in front of me. If I don't take it, it's like I don't think I can sleep well, because like he can't imagine, like all the goodies from the developers and all these things. So why not we look it in a way that actually the market is actually very vibrant? Why I say so? Because first, developer take extra cautious, and they give different freebies just to get buyer to come in. And secondly, I would say different market okay, like first home buyer, right? A lot young generation, I would say, those like making their business online kind of thing, they actually make a lot more money during these pandemics. And these are all the people actively buying. So I would say 2021, I don't think the market is bad in the way of like, economy is bad. Nobody is investing, no. But if you look into different development, if today you don't decide to buy this unit, probably 1 week later you'll go back, right? That unit, that particular unit will be taken away. So it's either you buy it or invest in it, or maybe some other will came in and just take it away. So I think that yes, these 2 years, just because the developments is not that vibrant as compared to previous few years, but the buyer is actually increasing. The market is there. So I would say, yep,
Now is the year.
now
Some
it's the
some
right
people are
time.
actually saying, right, Aaron,
Yeah.
should I actually wait for 2022 or 2023 when the market is even lower to actually go in? What are your thoughts on that? Should they actually wait until 2022 or 2023 to see or to actually buy right now, or even last year?
I think everyone also curious about this. There's no answer to it. However, I one thing that actually convinced me myself, I would say that the material cost has really increased a lot. And right now, most of developers decided to bear the cost. Those that already launched halfway, they decided to bear the cost. They decided not to transfer the cost to the buyer. So how low can it be when the material cost is actually increasing? I would say it won't be getting too much lower. Yes, maybe a little bit more, but that little bit more versus the good unit that you can choose right now, I would say the opportunity cost is actually there, but I don't think you will get significantly lower. And that also depending on developer, because as far as concerned, as you speak to a different developer, how those price really affected you. I think across all mass media is killing out all these news, right? And they say that right now the decision is we will try to fork it, and you'll see how times go. Probably next year we will only adjust a bit, but right now we are just ended the so-called NRP market slowly open up and all these things, so they don't do any big move first. But let's say the market is getting vibrant, then I don't know, maybe they'll choose to getting lesser discount whatsoever to in another way to increase the price lah.
Yeah, true. Because I myself, I'm a property developer myself, so material price is a big issue right now. It has been eating into our profit margins, and sooner or later, the developers will have to remove the rebates
Yeah.
or to actually reduce the rebates to actually match that margin that we want to still enjoy, right? So we have a question from Ezekiel, right? Ezekiel is asking, at what point do you start investing in property, or at what amount of capital, say for example, 100K in the bank, can we actually start looking for property?
Okay, if you, I will see a few keywords here. Okay, if let's say you buy this property for investment, right? I would rather you look into the cash flow that you have, not how much money that you have in the bank. Of course, that's important, but what makes you decide to get this property is actually your cash flow, because eventually you will need to pay the mortgage every single month. So right now, our interest rate is very low. Okay, like technically you save like if let's say you buy those 5 to 800,000 kind of property, you easily save a few hundred ringgit to 1,000. And that variance itself, if you rented your unit out, technically I would say that you probably don't need to top up, or sometimes it actually match or give you a little bit of positive cash flow, it depending on location. So yes, it's important to have some money in the bank as a backup, but what's most important to me is actually the cash flow. However, who decided that? When you get a loan, the banker will actually decide for you, because that is where they will actually approve your loan. If let's say they approve your loan, chances are your cash flow is healthy and they will think that you are eligible to get this property.
All
Yeah.
right, cool. So hopefully that answers your question, Ezekiel. So next would be Aaron. What is your view on the property market right now? Like, is it something that will actually go up in the future, or is it something where you feel like it will stay stagnant for a while? What is
Okay.
your view on this?
I would say very good question in this. Okay, look at it. Pandemic really affected the supply chain of our entire markets. Okay, certain developer decided to put on hold first, let's see the material price until it gets stable and all these things, then they only decided whether to launch or not to launch. But one thing, our life cycle, human being life cycle, you can't avoid that. Let's say today, every single property that launched today, it will be realized in 4 years' time. Let's say Klang Valley high-rise condo, okay? But landed property will be 2 to 3 years. So today, those people in the age of 15 years old, 16 years old, 4 years later, they will need to came to university. Or let's say today, they are in the age of 20 years old, 21 years old. But come to 24 years old, they will need to, look for a place because chances are they're looking for job opportunity elsewhere and they need a place to stay. So right now, today, you are in 25, 26 years old. You'll be eventually be 30 years old 4 years later. And that is time that probably you say, hey, I'll get married and I need a house for me. So demand will be always stay constant, but supply right now is actually getting lesser. So what will happen 4 years later? So 4 years later, I was foreseeing one thing: a new project in the market that completed right will be significantly less. But people who actually need the property is always there. So like if you don't buy now, we will actually miss the opportunity of like right now it's actually supply is significantly low, but demand is always there. But if you go back to 18 and 19, 2018, 2019, it's like every time you drive a car, right, for half an hour or let's say 15 minutes, you actually turn around and you see, oh, there's a new project launch here. And then another 15 minutes, you actually see another project is launching. So you won't see these scenes in Klang Valley right now.
I see. So your view is very optimistic because you mentioned that in 4 years' time, right, you see there will be a lack of supply in the market, and
Yes.
that will actually drive prices up automatically because basic economics, supply demand, and yeah. So how about what kind of property would you recommend people to buy in right now? Would it be residential? Would it be commercial? Would it be land? Because a lot of people, they will be thinking about different kind of investments that they want to invest in. Some they feel like, oh, I just buy a house to live, that is my investment property. But is that
Okay.
so?
All right, unless you buy a dual key. Okay, I would say that the property that you buy for own stay, right, you will appreciate in the price. However, that appreciation, right, sometimes you don't really feel it because you can't sell it, right? Until you can realize that profit is the decision that you have to sell the house, then you make the profits. So to me, if let's say you are those young investor, or probably you are those investor in the age of 30 plus minus, I would say that go for residential and go for places whereby it's matured. Okay, when I say matured means those places you see a lot local willing to stay there. It actually built up with a community. Community is very important because no one want to stay there, but they spend half an hour just to get something to tap out and makan. However, people want to stay there and they can just drive out, with the shorts, slippers, like 5 minutes, they reach something that their favorite fruits. Okay, and that also can be a street foods. So I actually personally, I will see a few things when I go for investment in property. First, I will always look at job opportunity. Because job opportunity will actually bring new population come to this area. So when new population come to this area, chances are all this new population, right, they will need a place to stay around where they work and in about 5 kilometer radius. So if you catch those 5 kilometer radius around the job opportunity area, you are quite safe. I would say that the rental market there is always active. And usually usually that is my point of view when I go to investment, right? I'll have to check all these points and it won't go too wrong lah. It's just how right.
Yeah. So you mentioned about job opportunity. Maybe you want to elaborate a bit more. Which areas specifically are you talking about within the Klang Valley itself?
Okay. I would say that like I have one property in Oakland Roads, and reason being, like, a lot of people say, "Hey, Aaron, you invested in that area. You talk about this area. It's like in one glance, I see so many condos actually launching there, and is that oversupply?" But if you look at another pictures, if you see Bangsa South, okay, I think Jonah, you know where is it, right? Bangsa
Yep.
South, Alibaba is there. If you see Eco City, where the Mid Valley is, and then Mid Valley itself, and also look at KL Central, and look at the distance from Oakland Road to KL City Central. These are all just all the places that I mentioned just now, right? It's always attract new people come to this area to work. Okay, like Google's, okay, all these like techie companies actually in KL Central. So when all these people come to this place to work, right, and Oakland Road will always be one of the places that they will look for property to stay. Okay, why I say so? Because that is the area that makana, I would say travel lah, everything. If you own a car, then it will be easy. So that is the time that when I see there's a property launch in Auckland Road, and I think it is a right. And right now the property has been handed over to me for like 5 years until today. The tenant is like, yes, of course it changed, but the gap between each tenant is always like maximum I have is 2 months time, even during pandemic. Still my tenant just moved out last year after the pandemic. Then new tenant came in. So I think yes, it's very important to look for places that you see constantly new faces coming into that area, and that will be the opportunity for you to approach those tenants, come to your place and stay.
True,
Yeah,
true. So we have a question from Wallace, right?
sure.
He actually mentioned that do you actually foresee a drop in renters given that quite a number of companies are looking at remote working or actually work from home these days?
Okay, I will say yes and no. Yes and no. Why I say so? Because if you say slight reduce in rental, yes, maybe 300 ringgit just to ease everyone burden during this, and owner itself also getting, like our interest rate actually drop. So we don't pay as much as before. So that will actually happen. However, if you say significantly drop, it won't be, because at the end of the day, there are people who actually prefer to work from home. But talked about my company, in fact, we have the choices to work from home, but people still prefer to came out or go back to certain places. And that's a time that they still hold on to the rental. Some of them during the pandemic they actually went back to hometown. But what happened is they don't cancel the tenancy. They still maintain a tenancy because they know that that is just a temporary thing. Yeah, so slight drop, yes, because of interest rates drop, because of right now probably everyone will having a different burdens. Owners actually stepping to help, But in long term, let's say 1 year, 2 years down the road, right, it will actually go back up. Yeah.
I see. All right, cool. Thank you, Wallace, for your question. Hopefully that answers. We have a question from Shazwan. Shazwan
Yeah.
is asking, "Hi, how do you know if a property is under overvalued? Are websites such as Property Guru, iProperty actually reliable?"
Okay, in iProperty there is a website called bricks.com, or secondly, the best way to ask is the best person to ask is actually the banker. The banker will always give you evaluations to the property that you wanted to buy. So right now, if you ask me, all the development, new project sales, right, I would say that the bank is taking a lot of like very conservative value. So not many developer, I would say probably close to none of the developer is actually try to price their project overpriced. And if let's say they price their project overpriced, first, bank will be the first person who sense it. Secondly, they will also have the risk of pricing themselves out from the markets. Okay, so if you want to buy sub-sale, right, then I would say the banker will be the best person for you to check with. And usually right now the valuation is in the very, very conservative. So when they're conservative, right, it's always good for the buyer.
I
Mm.
see. Cool, cool. Thanks, Shazwan, for your question. Hopefully that answers. How about yourself, Aaron? Like you mentioned about investing in property. Do you actually invest in just property? Do you invest in maybe perhaps REITs or maybe stocks or bonds, maybe or even crypto, right? What kind of
Okay,
other investments are you looking at right now?
I put a little bit here and there lah. Actually, I put in properties and bond more, because I'm not those high risk taker. That's why I love properties, because I know property. Let's say touch wood, eventually the whole thing burned down, right? I still get compensated by the insurance company. However, I personally feel that yeah, I mean we have to know different kind of investment vehicle, and at the end of the day, property is the vehicle that you can leverage. If let's say you are looking for different perspective, if you say, okay, I want to put in money this year and I want to cash out next year, then I would say property may not be the game. But if you want to put in money this year and as less as possible, probably just like 10,000, 20,000 kind of things. And the reason why I buy this property is because I just got a baby, I just got a kids, and he will need to have 20 years or 18 years to grow up, and then I need to send him or her to university. So I buy this property and probably I keep it for like 15 or 18 years. Can you imagine the price 18 years down the road compared to today's price, I will definitely get the differential in the capital appreciations. So let's say my kids say, hey, dad, you know what? I want to study doctors. Okay. I'm being inspired to become doctor. And how much the school fees? 1 million. Wow. Okay. And okay, don't worry. I have a property. Yeah, I can actually decide either to refinance it, either to sell it off. I have different options for me to actually cash out. And the best part is I do this planning 20 years ago. And while holding this property, waiting for the capital appreciations, the rental is coming in. So I don't hold it with very stressful because tenant is actually helping me to pay a certain portion, probably 70 to 80% to the bank. I just need to top up a little bit. But who is a winner at the end of the day? I would say you as an owner is a winner.
I see.
But if you buy it for this year and you hope that 3 years down the road I want to make 200,000, then maybe property may not be the game. Then you have to do into other vehicles like cryptos and share. That probably will help.
How I actually view property is like a wealth preservation tool instead of a money making tool.
Yes.
If you actually see it as a wealth preservation, right, like what you mentioned, 18 years or 10 years down the road, the price won't appreciate today or even in 3 years' time, but it will appreciate gradually throughout and it will be higher than inflation. Because a lot of people, they use property as a hedge against inflation, right? They use it as a hedge. So if you buy into a property, you're actually buying into an asset class where it is not guaranteed, but it is close to say that you will actually be beating inflation year after year, right? So coming back to just now, you mentioned about refinancing, right? You want to refinance for people's for the education system or to send your kids to school. Is refinancing a good option right now if people want to do that to actually ease their burden? What do you think?
Okay. I would say if you buy property in just recent 1-2 year, then refinance will be a little bit challenging. But if you already own a property for like probably more than 10 years and that property itself already significantly increased in price, and I would say right now, if let's say you need some cash or maybe you spot on certain opportunity, then refinance is always the best option because you get the lowest interest rate. And like after that, you can get cash out probably a few hundred thousands and you just put into maybe business opportunity or elsewhere, and you can grow that money better. So that you also decided on when you are buying this property, because you can't refinance every property they own. Because refinancing, the catch is actually you need to make your property at least increase. I mean, you need to wait for property at least increase in value first. Then you can only refinance the differential amount. So it's actually good timing for refinance if you spot on any opportunity and you already know that the value is increased. Then why not? Rather than let the opportunity just to miss away. And right now, opportunities probably I would say is everywhere.
I see. Just now you mentioned like interest rates and whatnot. I think like right now, if you were to refinance your property, if say you can actually take out now, I personally believe that you can refinance it using a very low interest rate because refinancing will actually be based or be slightly higher than your current home loan amount, right? So in the grand scheme of things, home loans are actually the cheapest form of loans that you can get from the bank. It's cheaper than personal loan, it's cheaper than car loan. So a lot of people, like some investors that I know, they refinance their property to buy luxuries, right? I don't advocate on that, but that is one way. Instead of paying the banks X amount of money to get a higher purchase loan, they use the refinance money to go and purchase maybe say a car, for example, and then eventually the tenant, right? The tenant will be the one paying for the car itself, right? Somewhat if you actually were to rent out. So this is one way that I have actually seen before what other investors are actually doing. What's your experience like, Aaron?
Okay, I actually, I'm being inspired by one of the owner when when I focus in sub sale, and that owner actually just came back from a very luxury trip. That time I can't imagine that, like how good if my parent give me this trip. Okay, like first class or business class all the way, and then 5-star hotel to Europe and all this thing. So I said, wow, how much you spend on this trip? He told me that probably around 2 to 300,000 include shopping. It's just like okay, but he said, Aaron, if one day you also can be like me. And in fact, I don't use my cash. I actually just refinance my property. And I know that every probably 5 to 10 years, I will just bring my family for a very luxury kind of holidays, something like this that we have just done. And yeah, someone pay for it. My tenant is actually the one that helped me to do it. So I just need to refinance it, cash out 500,000, and I use like 250,000, let's say, and I still remain with 250,000 for me to do something else. So in fact, like why use your cash, right? Why use your cash? Why use your saving if you can leverage on all these things, and if that property can be rented out, or maybe just one day you want to sell it off, if an investment property, that is actually allowed you to do. But that is actually like I learned this about 7 to 8 years ago. So that really inspired me to see big picture lah.
Interesting. Right. So to everyone who just joined us, thank you so much for actually joining. I see Whaley, I see some new faces, Alex. Thank you for actually joining us. Today we're actually speaking to Aaron Xiao, Group Vice President of IQI Global and founder of IQI Elite. Right. So Aaron has vast amounts of experience within the property industry. He himself, he has multiple properties under his belt. So he's the best person, right? And some more he's in the property line as well. So he's the best person to ask. If you guys have any questions for Aaron, do type in the comments below. We will try to answer them as much as we can. Right. So we have a question from Max. Max is actually asking, any good projects to recommend for first home buyers starting to build a family in KLPJ area?
Okay, for first home buyer, I have an advice like this. Let's say you're buying for your own stay, right? And if you spot something, try to buy as big as possible. Where I said as big as possible is within your budgets. Of course, if your budget allow you to buy 1,005 square feet, then you go for 1,005 square feet. If your budget allow you to go for 1,003, then you go 1,003. You don't go for like 800 or 900. Why? Because as time pass by, this is one thing that I see in property, right? Last time I can buy a house at 800,000, but this 800,000 give me 1,004 square feet. But today I also buy the same 800,000 amount, but this 800,000 give me only like probably 800 to 900 square feet. So for the same amount that you paid, you will see that it's the same amount, but it actually reduced in the size. Okay. So one thing, decide budget based on your monthly commitment because you're buying for own stay. So after that, you work reverse and you will know that, okay, with this budget, what is the maximum size I can get? Then secondly, is like get the best location that you can afford. All right. So if you can afford Mongkiara or places around there, then you buy there. You don't buy too far away from Klang Valley. Or you can buy within the Klang Valley, like 1 zone or 2 zone away. Then you buy within here, you don't buy like 3-4 zone away. So why? Because when you're closest to the, like I said, job opportunity, right? Especially your first home, right? In any event you want to upgrade, maybe a few years later you'll make more money, you want to upgrade, then this house, it won't be just left there for empty. It also can repurpose to become an investment product. It become a places that easily rented out. So you also can make money from the first home. So that's exactly what I did. I don't buy a very fancy house for my first home. I buy 300,000. I would say in between apartment and condo, that kind of category lah. So it's not luxury condo, and it's just like in between apartment condo. So a lot of people say, hey, why you buy this? Like the location, yes, it's good location, but it like in Canada, it's like whole zap. Then I'll say, it doesn't matter because I see it as I temporarily stay here. Yes, right now I buy for own stay. I probably will stay there for like 3-5 years. And yeah, right now I can just easily rent it out, and the rental is easily not only cover, it also gave me few hundred ringgit kind of positive cash flow. So I actually came into the view of like, I want to hybrid. I don't buy just everything of my dream house, but I also buy with the sense of like my backup plan is always an investment property.
So to actually answer Max, right, you have to find somewhere that is hopefully within the city center region where you can actually rent out easily later on. Say, for example, you stay first, you can probably actually rent it out later on in the future. And you make the transition easier lah. Or else you'll be stuck with the property. You rent out also, you'll be out of pocket 50%, 60%, right? So it doesn't really make much of investment sense to in that way lah. So Max, hopefully that answers your question. And we also have another question from Shazwan. Shazwan is actually asking, there's an argument that properties in new developing areas are better for mid to long-term investments as opposed to other better areas such as PJ because the infrastructure will be newer and of higher quality. What's your view on this?
Actually, I think it's not so much about argument, but rather the cash flow that you want to hold this property. Of course, if I buy something else and I know that I can afford it with cash, then it's okay lor, because I don't really need to take care, I don't really have a stress to hold on to it. But if I want to own something for long term, let's say I say 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road, and I really need someone to subsidize me, okay, who is the one? Which is the tenants. So it became like I rather put the bets in, like places where, like say, more job opportunity, places that higher chance for me to rent it out, and it definitely not a new developing area. So once I go for this bet, then I know that I will hold this property with less stress. Then I can focus in my thing, and eventually the capital appreciation kick in. I can actually enjoy the capital appreciations. So I think not just the ending part, but also how you hold it is also very important. Because I don't want end up I have a few properties, and each of that property I need to pay a big amount of that, and that add up together eventually becomes something that I'm really stressed off every single day. Then it defeated the purpose for me to invest in property. And if I want to let go, and we know like probably it's not easy, let's say it's a new area, right? Then I need to hold on to it. So it really depends on the financial situations.
I see. So depending on your financial situation, that's where you actually plan whether which kind of development that you want to actually buy, and from which area, whether is it new property or is it subsale, right? So hope that answers your questions, Shazwan. So I actually have a question, like what happens if a lot of people after this moratorium, right? Now currently we're going through moratorium. What happens if after moratorium, right, people start to not be able to finance their property or to pay, and then they go into bank lelong? What would happen to the property market? Would it crash? Because some people are actually worried about this, and they're actually talking about it right now.
Okay, I think we ended our first moratorium last year, October, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So what happened after that, I also observed that, in fact, the market is not too bad. Of course, certain industry is heavily affected, right? So bank actually came in, stepped in to help them. Right? I'm sure that some of those people were really affected from the pandemic. Bank will help them to ease over this and give them a longer period of moratorium. But if you look at overall picture, right, not it won't came to the pictures of this pandemic created a huge amount of lelong. Okay. I would say human being is pretty smart, that a lot of people actually already find a new way to make money. And chances are, yes, I actually leverage on the bank, whatever facilities that bank allowed me to take, then I will take that. But in the same time, I won't be sitting there, do nothing, and just wait until pandemic is over. So in the meantime, this pandemic, we say about last year, March until today, we're about 1.5 years. And I'm sure that if it's a lelong property, long ago already lelong, but it won't be significant amount. It won't be, because our bank will actually step in to help. But what I actually see is that a lot more younger generations make money, and they actually use this money to buy their first house, to actually upgrade their rental. This is what I also see in another scenario. Rental market is very active. Just imagine, Jonah, okay, just imagine in year 2018, 2019, there's no pandemic. So you probably came to KL and work, and okay let's rent a room, because what you need is actually a place to overnight, to stay, to sleep, and next day you go to work, and at night, happy hours, came back home 10, 11, 12 o'clock. So you don't feel that renting a room is a problem, right? Like, okay that's my lifestyle nobody cares, right? But if let's say you're renting in probably 200 square feet room or 150 square feet room, and during pandemic lockdown, you'll be bound into this room, we will think that, hey, why not I just rent a unit First, I think I can afford. Secondly, I need a bigger space for me to breathe, and probably I need to work from home kind of thing. I don't want just like eat, sleep, everything in this small room itself. So in fact, a lot of people upgrade their rental from room to a unit and enjoy that kind of life.
Right. So what would your advice be, Aaron, if they say they cannot afford the property? They want a property, but then they cannot afford it. Would you advise them to save up and rent first, or actually, just go all in to buy a property? What's your opinion on this?
Okay, I will probably first understand what do this buyer means, right? I cannot afford. You cannot afford by in the means of like capital, Meaning to say,
capital. They
initial
say, for example,
investment.
say for example, one of the people who actually commented on LinkedIn, right? He mentioned that down payment is a daunting amount. I believe he should be like maybe a first time home buyer or just graduated or even haven't graduate lah. And it's not easy to manage the renovation costs. You got legal fees, you got maintenance costs, and everything will all amount to quite a huge
Yeah,
sum.
agreed.
And graduates already have a lot of debt. They have PTPTN debt, and then now you want them to buy another property, right?
Okay.
It's going to be very tough. How would
Okay.
you actually advise them to save up first, or just continue renting? No need to think about property.
All right. I would say that we are quite blessed being a Malaysians, like for everything that you mentioned just now, right? If let's say you are already getting a salary, okay, and this salary actually giving you a significant surplus every single month, and you're foreseen that down the road 3 to 4 years time, you won't be a stagnant kind of salary, because you are doing quite well. Let's say you're graduate from university. So what you can actually do, you can start your investment, just shop around with different developer. I'm sure right now you get a lot of good deals, okay, whereby some of them will actually just help you to settle off the so-called all the legal fees and all these things. So some of the developers don't even need you to pay 10% down payments. So right now is the best time. So I always advise those young investors, right? Probably can look into buying a developer projects, new development. Why? Because when you buy it, you pay probably that kind of amount that you're comfortable with. Then after that, you have 4 years to save up. And that 4 years to save up, sometimes you'll probably end up to buy something already partly furnished. So you just need to buy certain loose furniture, and there you go. You're probably that loose furniture costs you like 10,000, 15,000. That's it, and you can actually start to pay. And you see, right now today it may be a fresh grad, but 4 years later your income will be adjust to different level, and it will also become like you can afford this property easily. Come to monthly installments. Yeah. So I would say can consider go to shop around different developer, and you kind of understand what is a monthly installment and so what is an initial payment. Then it's easy for you to make decisions. I would say a lot of freebies right now.
So say for example the developer is actually giving a lot of cashback, right? What would your advice be when they actually buy the unit and then they get the cashback? Because the cashback maybe most likely is to help them to renovate the unit, or maybe to actually ease the burden of the differential sum between the bank valuation and the property itself. What would your advice be to people who actually receive that big amount? Sometimes it can be a huge amount of like 100 over 1,000
Okay.
of cashback,
Okay.
right?
I would say that it's not easy to get this kind of deals anymore. Since 2019, if I'm not wrong. Right now, the developer giving it probably not a cashback. It's probably just ease you the burden of like owning this property by paying less amount. Like you pay less than 10%. Why? Because like I say, bank is playing the role of like taking a very conservative approach, that chances of you don't get this kind of like extra. If you really get this extra, then you really have to understand the market value that you buy. How come this developer is giving you so much extra? Okay, you have to understand where the money came from. But if you already understand, you analyze, you think that okay, it's safe to go. I'm buying for own stay, so the developer is actually giving me extra 50,000. Let's say, then this 50,000 definitely is to help you to renovate your property. Buy certain furnitures or something, or probably help you to quote unquote to help you to solve the few month time of like monthly installments. So you actually buy extra time to save your money. Yeah. So to me, right now, all the rebate is actually just to help you to ease on the initial down payments.
Interesting. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. So basically, is to save up now, right?
Yeah.
Save up now, and then later on, once you actually your salary increase, and then you after when it's under con project after 3 years, or then you actually save enough, and then only you start to repay. Should be okay lah, correct?
Yeah. Not a big problem.
Okay, awesome. Wallace has a question. So
Sure.
Wallace, he's asking, in your opinion, is the dual key concept suitable only if you want to live in the property yourself, or is there a market for rental both sides of the unit?
Okay. I see a lot of different kind of dual key concept. It can be a dual key concept means one sided is actually big unit like 2 to 3 bedroom. The other side is definitely studio units. There's this kind of property. There's also two side of it is actually studio units. Okay, so depending on which kind of dual key that you look into it. But if you say two side is also studio unit, which I think back in 2018-19, I actually go in and experience myself. I actually paid that kind of Airbnb pricing just to stay a night, and I just want to experience, like staying in dual key, how would it be, and to be my surprise, it's not easy to rent. So meaning to say, it actually like two kind of like, like the studio unit, and it actually rented out to those tourists, tourists that probably came to Klang Valley or KL. And yeah, it actually can rent it out both. But if you say, okay, I'm buying a dual key, and one sided is actually like family kind, and the other side is actually like a studio unit, then I would say it has to be depends on the locations. If you go back to like I mentioned earlier, right? If you go back to like job opportunity side, then you also need to understand, well, this area only attracts like singles or expat, like I would say KL city center. When I say KL city center means KLCC area, right? Probably family kind will be less. This market will be less, but expatriates single, okay, or they came just alone, then chances are they only rent small units or probably 2 bedroom. But if you buy this in around those areas that have a mixture of this market, okay, maybe Mongkera, then yeah, you get the opportunity to rent it out both. So I would say location play a very big role in this to answer this.
I see. So just now
Yeah.
you mentioned about dual key. Just coming, Wallace, thank you so much for your question. Right. I want to latch on to this dual key concept.
Sure.
What is, if you talk about location, dual key? Would you actually recommend people to have dual key units within the city town center, say for example KLCC area? Would that
Okay.
actually make more sense for people because you get the flexibility of having a bigger unit to be able to possibly rent out later on, and maybe if there is no demand, then you can actually close the door and you can rent out separately. What are your thoughts? Would it work
Okay.
within
I
the
will
area?
say that it came to I advise different group of people to buy different kind of roti actually. So let's say Jonah, you probably you're staying outstation, right? Then from time to time you might travel to KL to stay. So if I met you as my buyer, right, I will say, why not, Jonah, you consider this roti as both also studio units. Okay.
Mm,
So you can always leave one unit empty for you yourself, your private unit, that as and when you came over to KL, then you can, use this unit, you stay and you overnight here, just like as if you're staying in a hotel.
yep.
And in order to help you to have the save the certain, ease the burden, you rented out the other side. And the other side, you can actually get someone to help you to manage as Airbnb. Just because it's KL city area, KL city center, I'm sure that a lot of tourists will have an opportunity to wanted to stay in your unit. So I'm having a unit to call myself. I can stay here, like let's say in a month, 30 days, I can spend here for 15 to 20 days if I want. And I don't pay for that hotel like every day, you will charge me. But in the same time, I own this unit, anything about capital appreciation will be relevant to me. And in the same time, someone is actually helping me to offset, part of the rental. Why not? So if I met you, I will sell this kind of concept. But some people they say that, I don't plan to become an entrepreneur in long run, and this is my only amount of budget that I have to get a property. Should I get a dual key or not? Then I will say that, you see, if you don't plan to actually, you won't foresee your income will have a huge jumps, then probably you also need to consider to get a dual key, because dual key is the only way to help you to ease your monthly installments, because you can always rent it out part of the unit. So I actually sell a dual key. I sold a dual key concept to a young couple before. So I say, when you just probably like getting to just get married, or the part call period, right? Then you can stay in the studio unit. You don't need a 3 bedroom. So the 3 bedroom, you can just rent it out to a families that they need 3 bedroom. So that actually they pay the most of your installment and you pay less of it. Then after, if you think that to a certain stage you need this 3 bedroom, then you move over lor. While move over, you can always rent it out the small unit to those young couple. All right. So you can actually, the role is different right now.
Swap
So no
around.
matter, yeah, swap. So it always have someone to help you to offset the rental. So why not?
Mm,
So I
I
would say
see.
it depends on which buyer that I met. Then I will just link them to different dual key projects.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Aaron. So we do have a little bit more time
then
so
we
if
can
you guys
just
got
go on.
so if anybody in the audience here got any last questions for Aaron, right, do type it in the comments below so we can answer it before the time is up. So yeah, if you guys are actually interested to know more about Aaron, you can actually look up him on Facebook. He's mainly on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
You can actually type in Aaron Xiao, and later on we'll actually link his Instagram and Facebook account into the comment section, right? So with that, Aaron, I think we do have some conversations going on in the comments right now. So Shazwan is saying that, from his 6 years of humble experience, lots of comparisons need to be made on top of comparing, on top of like Property Guru and iProperty. Have to check the median price, layout, supply, demand, subsale. Yeah, really relevant stuff there. Thanks for actually sharing, Aslan. So yeah, Aaron, Wallace is actually asking, not on LinkedIn. maybe next time.
I'm being inspired really,
Yeah. So this is our LinkedIn community. Thank you so much for actually joining us. So yeah, just before we go there, I would like to once again thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much for actually coming on in, to actually share with us openly about your knowledge, your wisdom, and I believe all of our audience here, right, will have benefited from this session. And if you guys who are actually tuning on YouTube or even on a podcast, right, do remember to subscribe if you haven't, and hit the bell notification so every time when we go on live, you actually get notified. So just before we end the show, I'd like to thank some of our audience here. We have Wallace, we have Aslan, we have Chin, we have Keanu, we have Josephine, we have Jeannie, we have Alex. Thank you so much, guys. I can't name everybody, but really appreciate your time and effort for actually coming on in, staying till the very end. And I'd like to end the session with Aaron. Do you have any last advice for our audience here right now?
Well, I would say when it comes to property investment, right, you really need to understand why are you buying this property, but not just listen to one side, like probably someone, the agent or the developer itself, but you really need to understand, because at the end of the day, you are the one that pay for it. So you need to understand your strategy. You just don't blindly go in just because other people say right now is the right timing to buy, and you just go shop and buy. I've seen a lot of buyer, they buy without knowing why they're buying this, without a clear purpose. Then it could be end up that you also don't know why you are buying this, and there won't be a strategy for you. So different age, okay, and different age, it will be serve a different purpose. If let's say you're a young buyer, probably you're buying, like sometimes you will say I will be own stay. Just like me myself, I bought a property that I thought I'll be own stay, but eventually when hand over to me, I decided to rent it out. So it's just a kind of like lucky I'm in this industry. So I know that whenever I buy, I need to be a hybrid mode, that if I don't own stay, I will also have an opportunity to rent it out. So if let's say I buy a property without a planning, I thought I'll be own stay, but end up I don't stay there, then chances are this location is very hard for me to rent it out. Then how I need to, every month pay for it, and it probably will give me extra stress. And to have a strategy in investment is always important. And I would say that it's either you're a first home buyer, okay, or you're in a wealth creation category, or you're in a wealth preservation category. Three of this category, your strategy will be totally different. So understand yourself, understand how much of monthly commitment you are able to afford, and it won't create the extra stress on you. And then only go to shop around the property, get into locations, and eventually you won't go too wrong in buying a property. Or else you'll be like some people, they buy just because of a rebate. Some people, they buy because the pricing is low, and end up probably they will just get something that they don't want eventually. Yeah. So I think that's my advice for all the investors.
All right, cool, fantastic. If there's actually a live audience here, right, this is what will actually happen. So thank you so much. And I would like to leave our audience here with a quote by Benjamin Franklin. So the quote goes like, an investment in knowledge is always pays the best interest. When it comes to investing, nothing will pay off more than educating yourself. Do the necessary research, study, and analysis before making any financial decision, right? So with that, thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you so much for actually coming on in.
Thank you.
And hopefully we will see each other very soon. And
Yeah.
to our audience here, hope to see you in our next session. And bye for now. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.